Good evening. Welcome to the April 27th, 2021 meeting of Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
I am here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mayor Russell?
Here. The next item on the agenda is presentations, and we have a presentation for Suburban Women's Club, so you'll all join me down below. I know, be careful when you back up here. She just left, I don't want to.
Yeah, she's just calling somebody who's supposed to
What
be
is she
here.
calling her?
Let's give her a minute to come back.
She's got to have the door.
Come on.
Should we proceed, Mary, or?
Yeah.
Da.
That's where all the town. I really do. What do we do?
So why don't you guys
Up the-
Whereas the Suburban Women's Club of Pumpkin Plains was organized in May 1945, federated in February 1946, and incorporated on April 8, 1948. And whereas club members abide by the following pledge: to do all that is in our power to aid the community, to support the activities of the Federation, to be loyal to the aims and ideals of our club, to meet each other face to face without prejudice, and to these objectives we pledge ourselves. And whereas the club welcomes all women of Pequannock Township and local townships to join the association, and whereas the club's goal is to improve and to serve the community by volunteering and participating in township, district, and statewide activities. And whereas the club is a member of the Ramapo District of the New Jersey Federation of Women's Clubs, NJSFWC, and the General Federation of Women's Clubs, one of the world's oldest and largest nonpartisan, non-denominational women's volunteer service organization, having 100,000 members in every state and in more than a dozen countries. Now therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock and its residents, myself, Mayor Kyle Russell, and the members of the Township Council hereby recognize the 75th anniversary of the Suburban Women's Club of Pumpkin Plains. You guys want to come up for a picture?
We were supposed to, I guess.
Come on up, ladies.
Also makes it.
Jennifer,
need Jennifer?
There we go.
There you go. Oh, okay.
75 years, huh?
And if I turn it off.
That's awesome.
That's fine.
Right.
Now, we,
How,
is
well,
that-
I don't know.
how are we
How-
able to do this?
However
However
you
you
want,
feel
comfortable.
comfortable.
How are you comfortable doing it?
Well, I'm comfortable being
basically-
next to you, it doesn't matter, I can take my mask off if you like.
We have my shots.
That's fine, we're all good here.
Yeah,
We're
I
good,
know.
so you're
I
good.
got my shots.
I was just thinking that.
So do you want
So
to
we'll take one with,
with?
and then we'll take one without.
Take one with.
1, 2, 3.
All right. I did the same, I did the exact same thing. And then went, okay, ready, nobody breathe. 1, 2, 3. All right.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I just wanted to say, I've been associated with the Suburban and stuff for the last several years, although this past year I haven't been there a lot. I can tell you, they do so much for this community, and they're like a real sisterhood. And every time there's somebody that needs help, they're there. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we do.
Congratulations.
Stay public.
Oh, he used to go to the women's club?
You know, these houses that we've had on the tour. Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody back to the fish bowls?
You don't want to stay for our flood presentation?
There's another one at the library now.
Oh, do you?
Making the rounds.
Thank you again for everything.
Thanks for coming.
you've done.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a report of the Flood Resilience Officer, Ms. McCullough.
Thank you. Is it okay if I take my mask off?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jennifer Mccullough. I'm the Township's Flood Resilience Officer. I thank the council very much for having me this evening. Go ahead.
You'll have to talk louder with all the plexiglass. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
That's better.
There we
Okay, all right. So I thought about things that would be hot topics that are important to you, and I came up with 3. Didn't want to be here all night. The first is the flood map appeal, what the status of that is. The second is the home elevation grants and the process we're making, and also changes to the flood insurance rates. Go ahead, Adam. So the map appeal, which is thus far a 5-year saga. Starting back in 2016 when the flood maps were first released, and there were very few changes. The maps pretty much looked the way they did in 1992. But then in 2017, they released revised maps, and there were massive changes. Over 560 homes had increased flood risk, either by being put in the floodplain or being put in the floodway. So in 2018, the township filed a map appeal. In 2019, FEMA very unfortunately denied that map appeal based on a technicality. So we filed a second map appeal, which was the last time that I was here talking to you. And that was with an independent third party called a Scientific Resolution Panel, or an SRP. In 2020, we won that map appeal. The SRP filed a very strongly worded report saying that FEMA had done a bad job, basically. FEMA accepted that decision in July, and in conversations with FEMA, they agreed that it would be a good idea for us to hire an engineer that was a specialist that could send new models to FEMA to kind of accelerate the process. We were very excited about that. We sent the maps at the beginning of October, and then there was no real progress from FEMA. Very disturbing. So in 2021, we decided that we would start organizing FEMA. So we convened monthly meetings, and we kind of have a new methodology. We're applying pressure from above. So I don't know if you recall, but back in March, Senator Booker and Representative Sherrill sent a letter to the FEMA director, counseling him to kind of get moving and make sure the maps were correct as well. They also filed a press release that was pretty effective. We also found out who's in charge of the SRP process at FEMA headquarters, which is a great guy named Todd Steiner, and we're keeping him in the loop. And we're also updating the Morris County commissioners regularly and kind of teeing them up in case we need their support. We're also holding FEMA's feet to the fire with these monthly meetings. We record them, we have agendas, post-meeting notes, and action lists that come out of them. They're every third Friday, in case you ever wanted to come. And this time around, we are very closely involved with the process. Last time, we were not allowed to have a voice, which is probably one of the main reasons that the maps were so terrible. So we requested that FEMA literally map out their process for us, which they've done. And the engineer that we hired is pretty much embedded with FEMA teams. He's out in the field with them, he's providing data to them, and he's checking their methodology as we go along. So, you know, we discuss FEMA's progress at every monthly meeting, and it seems to be having an effect. They actually came in early on a deliverable this month, which was really surprising. But the million-dollar question is, when will the maps be ready? So what I'm going to present tonight is the worst-case scenario. Okay, I want to make sure that we're all clear on that. You know, we aim to, you know, under-promise and over-deliver. So the Pompton River should be ready by this September. The east and west ditches should be ready by November of this year. The Passaic River, which because of backflow issues has a big effect on the Pompton, will be ready by February of next year. Now, the next two items are where I think we can really contract the process a lot. The first thing that they are going to create is a digital database. Now, they're giving themselves 4 months, which is typical for a county-wide map project, but this is just 3 communities. At this point, it's Pequannock, Lincoln Park, and Montville. So I don't see any reason why it should take them 4 months to do this. And the same is true of creating the actual maps in the flood studies. So I'm hoping that we can save some time there. The last step is the map adoption. There's no way to make that faster. It's a 6-month process by regulation. So according to what they've laid out, we will have adopted maps 2 years from now. Obviously, that's not really acceptable, so we're going to be pushing on this as hard as we can. Now, the positive is that, you know, FEMA has brought out all the cutting edge technology. They're being extremely thorough. You know, we're getting the Cadillac model, and hopefully the maps will be correct. And all of this is at FEMA's expense. I don't even want to guess how much money they're spending on this. On the negative side, you know, it takes some time to get all that done. So, as I said, we'll be pushing throughout. Does anybody have any questions?
Before those new maps come out, are lenders charging people flood insurance from the preliminaries?
Yes, they are.
They are.
And I have had discussions with the banks, and what I'm told is that even though FEMA tells them you should be using the current map, which is the 92 map, the banks feel that it's their capital at risk. And there's no teeth in FEMA's direction. There's no consequence if they don't listen to FEMA. And so the banks say, we're going to take the riskiest model, which, believe it or not, in some cases is the 92 map, and in other cases, you know, it's the 2017 map.
Wow.
So it's very, very frustrating.
But Jen, even as a township, we have to look at the worst case scenario when people go to
Yes,
the
correct.
department, so you can't really blame, you know.
Right, yeah.
They're doing
I mean, it's just, yes, if the maps weren't so horribly wrong, it would be less frustrating.
My biggest problem, though, with this Cadillac model, I believe it was the Cadillac model that got us into the position that we're in now with these maps, because they do everything now by air, and Pequannock is flat, so they can't really tell the different, you know.
Yeah, so that was one of the criticisms of the SRP, is that FEMA didn't actually come out to Pequannock. There was no on-site field work done, and that was actually done last week. So hopefully,
Okay.
you know, and the engineer that we hired was with them. We had data directly from Morris County that I guess was fabulous survey data. So again, we were hoping they get it right.
So anyone that wants to do any type of construction that falls into this new FEMA map can't expect to do anything until after April of 2023.
You can do construction, but you have to use kind of the riskier base flood elevation that's been determined.
And that hurts us.
Right. Oh, and they're tough, because I had gotten a letter, and I am not even in the flood zone, I'm nothing. And for some reason, they picked up that I was in a flood zone out of the blue. And I had to fight them and fight them and fight them, but I finally got it resolved, but.
And was that with FEMA or with the bank?
That was with the bank.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm not in the
banks,
flood, and they kept telling me, no, I am. I'm like, here's the flood maps, here's my house, I'm not there. And they're like, well, we have you listed as yes. And I'm like,
Is
well,
it
you
showing
made,
500?
and they would not admit they made a mistake.
well, and the other issue too is the FEMA standard is that the floodplain needs to be touching the structure. And what I'm starting to see with homeowners is if they have the floodplain in like the corner of their lot, the bank is going, oh, you're in the floodplain. No, they're not.
Right.
So, you know, we've been providing a lot of assistance on that front too.
I think you've done a fantastic
Yeah.
job. I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just,
Well, thank you.
I mean, just amazing. Thank you so much.
Well,
I mean, you've
and a
been
lot of
on
credit
this.
has to go to Adam as well. He's,
He's okay.
no.
But seriously,
You
both
you
of you.
deserve the gratitude,
You
Jennifer.
guys
I don't know what,
did it,
I don't know
both
what
of
we're paying,
You're doing
but
tough.
whatever we're paying you, it's well worth.
you. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
every dime.
I'm very happy.
Wait, we cut her salary at the last.
No, we didn't.
As long as you're happy.
All right. So going on to the home elevation grants. We have 4 active grants right now and 1 application that is being reviewed by FEMA. So the 2015 grant is completed. 70% of the homes elevated and 30% withdrew. Now the reason for that is back in 2015. FEMA was so desperate to get any structures elevated that they would take pretty much anybody that applied. So a good portion of our application were individuals that were not a severe repetitive loss, which FEMA covers at 100%, or a repetitive loss, which they cover at 90%. They were just a house that had flood insurance, so they had to pay 75%. And the average home elevation in Pequannock cost $200,000. So 50 grand is a lot of money for a homeowner to come up with, and some of them were not able to, sadly. So 2016 had a very similar problem, but not quite to the same extent. So we're almost done there. 82% are elevated and 18% withdrew. So between those 2 grants, we've elevated 36 homes in the
That's great.
community. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. For 2018, we just kicked it off earlier this month. There are 15 homes. I'm trying a couple new things this year. I created a guidebook. I had a binder before, but now it's a guidebook that's slimmer, that has an index so they can find information very quickly. And we created something called a pre-bid meeting, where basically me, Bob Grant, who's our construction official, and one of his construction inspectors go out to the property with the homeowner. We walk around, we talk about zoning issues, we talk about structural issues, we find out from them how they want to elevate it, because there's a number of methods. And we're basically trying to find the problems early on. So out of that meeting is an eligible construction list that I send to them that maps out everything that FEMA will cover, any issues with the property, and it's something that they can just hand to a contractor.
Right. And no surprises for them either.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
they're thinking, oh, I want to do this and this, and you're like, you can't. At least let them know now. That's great.
Yeah, well, you know, I've always had a list of this is what's allowed and this is what isn't.
Yeah, they
It's-
don't read it.
But it's different when you give them something specific to their own home that says, oh, you want a room, okay, that room is not eligible. So, anyway. So far, we've had 9 meetings out of the 15 homes, and we've had 4 of the pre-bid meetings, so it's moving along pretty well. The biggest challenge we're going to face is the increase in construction costs, which I've heard numbers like 300%, which is just a nightmare.
Price of wood.
Yeah,
Yeah, lumber is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's not only wood, cinder block, cement, you name it.
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, I'll be working on that problem diligently to see if we can find more money. If, you know, for example, if a homeowner withdrew, we could use whatever funds they had and redistribute it among the homeowners if we got FEMA's approval, which we have in the past. So not that we want anyone to withdraw. So 2019, we think that kickoff will take place once the township has gotten full reimbursement for 2015 and 2016. So that will most likely be November of '21, and that's 16 homes. And in terms of the 2020 application, we should have whether or not we got it decided by mid-summer, usually June or July. And that was 8 homes. The pandemic affected people, let's just say. So the good news is we were ranked in the top 10 out of over 200 applications from the state of New Jersey by the state. Kind of the downside, if you will, is there's $200 million available nationwide. And so far there have been 440 million in applications. So this is the toughest competition we've ever seen. So we'll see. I wasn't sad that we came in with less homes because smaller projects are more likely to get approved. So do you have any questions about the home elevations?
Did FEMA get any money from the Recovery Act?
Not for this specific program, no. That money was probably funneled more towards response.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Once
Anybody
again, great
else?
job.
No, you did a great
No.
job summarizing.
Seriously.
Thank you. And then the last thing is kind of interesting. So FEMA has decided to entirely revise how they determine flood insurance premiums. And
Of course they have.
And what kind of cracks me up about it is it's called risk rating 2.0, but there was never a 1.0. But that's okay. Anyway, depending on a homeowner's policy renewal date, this will take place either this October or next April. And what they've done is it's a model that's very similar to what private insurers do, where they look at a myriad of items. So some of these changes include whether it's, yeah, if you could go ahead. Riverine versus coastal flooding, the replacement cost value of the home, how close the home is to the river, the house's size, the foundation and construction type, the first floor elevation, the lowest floor in the house, flood frequencies, and this was the kicker. This blew me away when I saw this next thing. Elevation certificates are no longer required. And they have been beating up communities and homeowners for years that you must get an elevation certificate, we must. And now we're being told, oh, we have all that data at the federal level. So we're gonna be able to do this without anybody. It's a wonderful cost savings for the homeowners because those elevation certificates are usually between $400 and $700. So it's a lot of money.
Is that a LOMA? Is that what you're?
No. A LOMA is a letter of map
Right,
amendment.
okay.
To see if your home really is in the floodplain. So what they're promising is reduced complexity and increased transparency. And this is the part that's actually kind of exciting. So a homeowner can go online and get one uniform quote. So right now, homeowners go to different insurance companies and they hear all different prices. And that's going away, supposedly, we hope. But the best news is that they're continuing on with the CRS program and the flood insurance discounts. And Pequannock has 25% in discounts right now. So do you have any questions about that? No?
Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very well. And thank you for all your support. I appreciate it.
You've been awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
Mayor, if I can just make a comment, for those people who participated in my onboarding process, there was a question about the unusual challenges that the township faces with a quarter of its landmass in the flood area and other issues that it faces. Someone said to me in the interview process, what are some of the things you could do or you're aware of to deal with these issues? And my response was, I don't know who decided to hire Jennifer Mccullough from the County of Morris, but whoever did that was brilliant. So,
Agreed.
My first experience with Jennifer was when I was in a different town in Morris County. We worked on other projects. We do have unusual challenges. Some of them may even be unique. But Jennifer, the construction team, the engineering team, and everybody do a phenomenal job of trying to address these things, consistent with the council's policy goals of not just let's obliterate every house, not just let's throw money away, but let's take a multi-pronged approach to try to most effectively preserve the rateable base while addressing those houses and properties that are most at risk. So I think there's been a good foundation established, and we're working to execute those plays to satisfy all the needs that present themselves. So congratulations, Jennifer, as
Yeah,
we
thank
meet
you.
regularly and it's excellent.
Yeah, fantastic job.
Hey Jen, I just wanted to ask you real quick, I'm assuming you're gonna go over this with the flood committee if we ever meet at the next meeting?
It's actually it's my understanding from Nick that we are meeting in
Yeah.
person.
That's what I heard.
So, yeah.
Is it possible to share this with
Oh,
with
absolutely.
us?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, I mean, my report that I give them every month has a lot of this in it, but I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, it's just a nice summary of everything, so if you
Yeah.
can share the presentation with us and with them,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Have a
Awesome.
great
Thank you
night.
so much.
Thank you.
At this time, are there reports or comments from any of the volunteers serving our community? Yeah.
Good evening. Stacy Ann Webb for the Shade Tree Commission. I am now the former chair of the Shade Commission. Last night we had our meeting and we voted on Jeff to replace me because I am no longer a resident of this town. And
Did you
it's-
officially close? Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes, yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had my last meeting yesterday, and like I said, we voted on Jeff to replace me, and Mike will be the secretary. So together they will make a great team. One of the questions that we have, I sent a text message to Rich and to Adam yesterday. With the new ordinance, or old ordinance now, we wanted to know who is going to enforce the contractors that are in town that are not registered with the town. Do
So, with the mayor and council's permission, the ordinance, we did not want to clearly articulate a list of those who would enforce it, because we want it to be eligible for anybody who has enforcement powers through the township ordinances. But the operational response is the police department.
Okay,
As soon as, I know we've ordered the decals, I know there's been correspondence that's been prepared.
we have one registered
Okay.
contractor.
And so as soon as we go fully live, the Public Works Department, Shade Tree Commission will notify the police department, hey, this is what the decal looks like, this is how they get it. Police department will put out orders to all of their officers, and should anyone observe someone operating that isn't in compliance with the requirements of the ordinance, they call, the police department responds and issues the necessary corrective action.
Okay, great.
Can we put that on the website and what the decals are gonna look like?
Yep, as soon as we have all that wrapped up, absolutely.
Okay, and one of the second questions that we had from the meeting last night was Forrest had put together a letter explaining to the residents what the ordinance was about and how to go about getting your contractor registered. But to my knowledge, it's not up on the website, or it wasn't, I know it was cost prohibitive to mail it out to the residents, but how are they going to find this out?
I'll follow up with the Director of Public Works. Forrest just has to bring it up the chain, and then
Okay,
it can be posted. Yeah, soon, my understanding was we weren't live yet. If that's not a correct understanding, I'll get that.
I believe
Addressed.
we are.
When are we?
I'm going to introduce Jeff. Jeff Regan is the new chair. I will be working with him until he's up to speed on everything.
When are we gonna be live?
As soon as I'm told everything's in place, because we kind of, the council took the legislative action on the ordinance, and then there was some communication back and forth about the decals, and you have to have everything administratively and operationally in place before you're ready to go. So as soon as, or if that is in fact in place, we just need to confirm everything, get everything to the police department, and then we can rock and roll.
And what will the police do? Will they talk to the contractor and tell him he has to register, put a stop work order, or?
So the
what's gonna
police,
happen?
police enforcement is like police enforcement with any other issue. They have officer discretion, so, we don't control that. My thought is initially, they're probably gonna issue warnings and educate, and then after that, they'll probably escalate to summonses, much like, for example, with the non-truck route roads. They would educate the truck drivers who are just following their GPS first, because maybe it's an honest mistake. But if it's an egregious flaunting of the law, then you get summons.
Okay. So we still don't know when this is gonna go live. I mean, look, there's a lot of contractors I talk to, because I'm in the tree business, they all wanna know what's going on. So when will we get an answer?
But I would refer that question back to the Shade Tree Commission and the staff that's associated with the Public Works Department. As soon as everything is administratively and operationally buttoned up, and I'm giving that that's all ready to go,
Okay.
then we move forward.
It's all there.
So yeah, it's got to get buttoned up in correspondence to memorialize everything and get it to the police department. We'll get everything up on the website and put out some notices and off we go.
Do we have a list of like local tree people that we can send a letter to saying, hey,
I think that's a great idea.
here's a new ordinance in Pequannock, this is what you need to do?
I've called a bunch of guys and they go, oh yeah, I'm gonna come in and do it. But it's, until somebody gets, in my opinion,
Talking to.
a talking to,
Right.
they just won't come in.
Right.
I think you gotta educate the public too, so that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And when we do our tax bills, we can't put a memo in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's going out in August.
We are gonna be in the parade. We're gonna show off the new bucket truck. I've got signs made up for the sides of the trucks to try to educate the public, because that's also a hard part. So hopefully soon this will happen.
As soon as we get the notification that everything's done, we'll move.
Okay.
Not only do we need to educate them about this, we need to educate them that there is a shade tree committee in this town.
Right.
Because people cut down trees and I say, hey, you know, you can get one from the town. I can?
Right.
Well, we last year the town planted 0 trees, and a lot of that was COVID. So this year that's going to be a big push to try to plant trees, but most people don't want them. I don't know why.
I took 2 down and put 2 up.
And you did a heck of a job. When is that? Oh, I was just told we were supposed to do Earth Day.
Well, there were no trees, COVID affected everything, but typically for Earth Day, we give out in the front parking lot.
Saplings.
Right.
The saplings, and there's usually a lot of people that come and take it, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
We're done.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public comments. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record.
You're done?
The next item on our agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Brula.
Thank you, Mayor. Few things to cover quickly. The first was there was a question at the last council meeting regarding the equipment that was replaced from the police department communications, and there was an emergency